Morning Year 6 and welcome to Wednesday's reading lesson. Today we're continuing our theme of Pompeii, and we looked about Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius yesterday, and today we are going to be reading a text called Escape from Pompeii by Christina Ballet. What I'd like you to do now is pause the video, go and read the text. You can read along with me. The video is on the YouTube channel, and once you've paused the text, once you've read the text, I'd like you to come back and answer these quick start questions. What is the young boy called? What did the residents of Pompeii call Mount Vesuvius? What is Tranio's favourite song about? Who is Livia? Where did Tranio and Livia hide? And where did old Tranio and Livia lay flowers as a sign of respect? Pause the video and then unpause when you've answered the questions. Fantastic. Now let's look at the answers to your questions. What is the young boy called? Tranio. What did the residents of Pompeii call Mount Vesuvius? The Gentle Mountain. What is Tranio's favourite song about? It's about earthquakes. Who is Livia? The baker's daughter who lived across the street. Where did Tranio and Livia hide? On a ship underneath a pile of coloured rugs. And where did Tranio and Livia lay the flowers as a sign of respect? In the shade of an orange tree. Give yourself a tick for all the questions you got right. So I hope you've enjoyed the text today. I did, and it really runs alongside the actual facts of what happened in Pompeii. First, we're going to have a look at some vocabulary that you might have encountered in the text. He could see Pompeii's greatest protector looming in the distance. So the word looming gives the impression that something's big, it's towering, it's looking over something. So we know that the great protector, the mountain, Vesuvius, was in the distance, and it was a big presence, and it seemed like it was always looking over Pompeii. Boats were bobbing on the choppy water. So you can imagine choppy water is when it's not calm, there's waves, and the boats are bobbing around. They're not just sailing flat on the water. Some more words here. Everyone would join in laughing as they remembered the earthquake tremors. So the tremors are the little shakes that happen before, as an earthquake's happening. So you'll get the little tremors first, and then they'll become bigger if that earthquake is stronger. The poor thing bolted when the ground began to grumble. So bolted, we usually use the word bolted when we're talking about running fast. I usually use this when I'm talking about animals, especially horses. So the horse bolted. It means it got out of the way very quickly. It ran off fast. For the rest of their days, they would carry a deep sorrow within their hearts. So we know the word sorrow. It's when you're feeling a bit sad. But because it's a deep sorrow, it means it's within themselves. It's not going away. It's buried deeply. It's not at the top, ready to be forgotten. It's there and will be remembered forever. So let's have a look. Could any place feel safer than here? Tranio wondered. Why do you think the author chose to include this line? Have a think. Think about what happens after this line and why the author chose to include it in the text. Pause the video, answer the question, and then unpause so we can discuss the answer. So I think the author chose to include this line because at the beginning of the text, it makes you think that is such a safe place to live. Nothing's going to happen to them. But what we do know that is in the text, the place is not actually safe at all. So the authors use this line to make the reader think, oh, well, nothing's going to happen. It's a great place. And it's also a question. Could any place feel safer? So that's kind of saying this is the safest place ever. When really what we know now is that it wasn't safe at all. What did you put? Let's go on to the next question. So taking into account what you know about Pompeii so far, so think about what we read yesterday. On page 4 of the text, what do you think the residents thought was happening? Let's have a look at the extract. But one by one the actors began to relax. Rumble down, tumble down, here we go again, they chanted. Nothing to fear, everybody, called Tranio's father. Back to rehearsal, please. The actors fastened their masks and carried on as if nothing had happened. So think about the people in this story, what we know about Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius, and what do you think the residents thought was happening at this point? Pause the video and unpause for the answer. So at this point, The residents of Pompeii basically thought they were having another little earthquake. They didn't think it was anything serious because they didn't know that Mount Vesuvius was a volcano, so they just thought it was an earthquake. This time I want you to look at page 5. What is the first hint to the children that something bad is happening? Flushed and excited, the two children ran hand in hand into the dusty streets. But as they ran, the sky began to darken and a thick cloud drifted slowly overhead. Livia turned to Tranio. Why are the seagulls flying towards the woods? They're going the wrong way. A small bird in a hanging cage chirped frantically, trapped behind its bars as the air began to fill with ash. Livia coughed. Tranio, perhaps we should go back. Tranio grabbed her hand. We can't go back. The dust is too thick. Quick, the harbour. Run, just run. Pause the video now and think about this extract and what is the first hint that something bad was happening. Once you've answered the question, unpause for the answer. So, in this extract, the first hint that something bad is happening is that the seagulls are flying the wrong way. Seagulls were flying away from Pompeii, and that should have been a sign that something bad was going to happen. Okay, look at this extract. Most people had forgotten the buried city. Why do you think the author chose to include this line? Pause the video, have a think about it, have a talk about it with someone if you have someone there. Answer the question and then unpause for the answer. Okay, so I think the author chose to include this line because it shows that Pompeii had gone, it had been buried by the ash and the debris and the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and that most people had forgotten about it. The author chose to include this to show that Tranio and Livia had not forgotten about it. It was something that was etched in their hearts. So it was just something little, it might have been something little to a lot of people that hadn't been there. And don't forget, a lot of the people that actually came from Pompeii died in Pompeii when the volcano erupted. Not many people escaped. Because they had escaped, they can't forget about it. So the author chose to include this to kind of signify that they won't forget about it and that many people have. Years have gone past and it's something that happened that people don't talk about it anymore. But the two main characters that escaped can't forget it. Let's have a look at the next question. This is your solo work for today, Year 6. It should take you roughly about 10 minutes. Don't worry if it takes you any longer. Pause the video at any time so you can jot down any notes for your answer. Based on the non-fiction test that we read yesterday, do you think the extract of Escape from Pompeii is a realistic depiction of the events that happened? Explain your answer and refer to both texts. So for this, you need to get the text out from yesterday, the actual factual text about Pompeii, and you need to look at the text from today's lesson, the story. Because don't forget, today's text is fiction, but it's based on actual true events. I want you to pause the video. I want you to have a think. If you want any more support with this, then unpause, because I'm going to go over some of the extracts from yesterday and how they would relate to the text today. So let's have a look. So yes, in yesterday's text, this is something we know. The people of Pompeii didn't know that Mount Vesuvius was a volcano. So we know that that is what happened. And in the text today, it also shows that they didn't know that it was the volcano, because they could see, it says here, beyond the massive city walls, he could see Pompeii's greatest protector looming in the distance. They called it Vesuvius, the gentle mountain. So that does agree with the factual side of it, that not many people knew that it was a volcano. They thought it was a mountain that rumbled. I'm going to leave this extract up, pause it, and I want you to explain your answer. To get your marks for this question, you have got to refer to both texts. Okay, so pick out something from the factual text and match it with something from the fiction text and how they match. If you don't think it's a realistic depiction, then say why. But you should be able to find evidence that this was quite a realistic depiction of evidence of Pompeii. I can't wait to read your answers for this. See you tomorrow, Year 6.